You know, there's something we all seem hardwired to want, isn't there? A future that feels, well, secure.
Definitely. We want happiness, health, peace, prosperity
Yeah.
for ourselves, for our families.
hmm
Is pretty fundamental.
It really is. It drives so much of what we do.
Our choices, the effort we put in, it's all aimed at that sense of stability, knowing things will be okay down the line.
But let's be real, that feeling seems a bit shaky for a lot of folks these days.
Yeah, unexpected things happen. I mean, look at the recent pandemic. It showed just how fast everything can get disrupted.
Exactly. And it leaves people feeling like their future is, well, anything but secure.
And that uncertainty pushes people. It makes you search, sometimes really eagerly, for something reliable, something solid to guide you.
People look everywhere for that feeling, that guidance.
And that search, that's actually what we're diving into today.
Right. We're looking at some source material specifically from the Watchtower magazine, the September-October 2021 issue.
hmm And that issue tackles this exact question. The theme is literally a secure future. How can you find it?
So our mission today is to really unpack what this magazine presents. We'll look at the different paths it says people try for security,
Examine the results it reports for those paths.
and then explore what this specific source identifies as the reliable guide. What it claims is the only source that can actually guarantee a secure future.
Okay, so where does the magazine start? It looks first at this idea that maybe unseen forces are in control.
Right, that your future is kind of predetermined or influenced by things you can't see, leading people to, try certain practices.
Yeah, the article gets specific. It mentions astrology, the idea your fate's written in the stars from birth.
Consulting horoscopes and all that.
Exactly. Trying to avoid bad stuff or find the right time for things. Then there's feng shui.
Harmonizing your surroundings, right, with these unseen forces.
The source even gives an anecdote about someone named Lo Wing in Hong Kong. A feng shui master told him to put a special crystal in his shop to, make more money.
Okay, what else?
Ancestor worship comes up too. The belief that you need to sort of appease dead ancestors or maybe deities to get protection or blessings.
And the source mentions someone, Van in Vietnam, who believed honoring ancestors was the key to a better life, a secure future.
It also touches on reincarnation, this cycle of existence where what happens now is because of a past life.
It's interesting, the source notes that even people who might call these things superstition,
Yeah.
they might still dabble in related stuff like palmistry, Ouija boards, tarot cards, maybe just hoping for some kind of hint or insight.
Hedging their bets, perhaps.
Yeah.
So the magazine lays out these beliefs, then it asks, okay, what are the results? According to the source, what happens?
It gives examples. There's Hao from Vietnam. The article says he tried astrology, feng shui, and ancestor worship.
And the outcome.
According to the source, business failure, debt, family problems, just a lot of emotional distress. Not exactly security.
Not at all. Any others?
Yeah. There's Qiang from Taiwan mentioned, believed in a mix of things, astrology, reincarnation, fate, feng shui, ancestor worship.
Wow, covering all the bases.
Kind of, but the source says he found it all really conflicting, confusing. He apparently noticed astrological predictions were often wrong, and he questioned things like, how can you improve in a next life if you don't even remember the last one?
Good question. So the magazine's conclusion on this path.
Basically, that these individuals, Hao, Kuming, and others it implies, came to realize their future wasn't actually determined by fate or stars or ancestors or rebirth.
Okay, so that's a strong point from the source. But then it pivots slightly, doesn't it?
It does. It immediately stresses that our choices, the things we actively decide to do, absolutely do affect our future.
Right. It uses that very practical example, choosing to wash your hands or wear a mask during a pandemic. That choice has a direct impact.
It's a tangible connection between action and outcome.
And then it connects this to a principle it pulls from the Bible, Galatians 6.7.
Whatever a person is sowing, this he will also reap.
Exactly. The source presents this as like a fundamental law of life illustrated by a wise teacher. Choices have consequences, like planting seeds, you get what you sow. It even compares it to similar Oriental sayings.
Okay, so the source argues against relying on unseen forces, but emphasizes personal choice. Where else do people typically look for security, according to the magazine?
Well, the next big area it tackles is higher education and money, wealth.
Ah, yes. The idea that getting a good education, especially a university degree, leads to a better life.
Right. Better job, higher pay, more stability, happiness. That's the common thinking it describes, a secure future.
The source calls this a choice many make. It gives an example. Zhang Chen from China believed a degree and a high-paying job were his ticket out of poverty, the path to a happy life.
And it points out this isn't just an individual thing, it's a huge trend. Seeking higher education, often going abroad for it.
It mentions an OECD report from 2012. 52% of students studying abroad then were Asian. That's significant.
It really is. And the sacrifices involved.
Wow.
The source talks about parents making huge sacrifices, even going deep into debt.
It mentions Qixiang's family in Taiwan. They sent all 4 kids to college in the U.S. Imagine the cost, the pressure.
You can. So people invest heavily in this path. What does the magazine say about the results here? Does it deliver the promised security?
Well, the source acknowledges education can help. It can improve life in some ways, but it often doesn't meet those ultimate expectations of total security.
How so?
It quotes Rachel Mui in Singapore's Business Times saying, graduate unemployment appears to be a growing issue.
So even with the degree?
Right. It mentions Jianji in Taiwan had a doctorate but still had to take a job completely unrelated to his field. And Niran from Thailand got a UK degree, got a higher paying job, seemed like success. But the source says the job demanded huge amounts of time, and then he eventually lost it anyway. Made him realize how little real security there was, even in that kind of employment.
Yeah, jobs can be precarious.
And the source makes a broader point, too. Even people who are rich, who seem to have the good life, they still face major problems. Family issues, health tragedies, economic shocks.
Sure. Money doesn't insulate you from everything.
Exactly. It quotes Katsutoshi from Japan, admitting that despite having plenty of material things, he felt frustrated by competition, jealousy, workplace bullying.
So the wealth didn't bring peace?
Apparently not, according to his account in the source. And Lam from Vietnam is quoted observing that chasing financial security through high-paying jobs often backfires.
How?
Leading to insecurity, health problems, burnout, depression, the opposite of what was intended.
So the magazine's takeaway from these stories?
Essentially that many who put their faith primarily in advanced education and wealth found themselves frustrated. They didn't find the lasting security they were searching for.
And the source then tries to explain why these things fall short, from its viewpoint.
Yes, it does. It draws again on what it calls holy writings. First, it argues higher education doesn't always bring success.
Okay.
It quotes Ecclesiastes 9.11, and, the swift don't always win the race, the intelligent don't always have the riches, because time and unexpected events overtake them all.
Ah, so it's pointing to factors beyond just qualifications or effort, unpredictability.
Exactly. Economic problems, injustice, prejudice, things that can derail even the most educated person's plans. That's the source's interpretation.
Makes sense.
What else? It also says wealth may not last. It uses Proverbs 23, verses 4 and 5. Do not wear yourself out to gain wealth. When you cast your eyes on it, it is not there, for it will surely sprout wings like an eagle and fly off.
Wow, vivid imagery.
Isn't it? The source takes this to mean financial security is inherently temporary, vulnerable. Economic crises, natural disasters. It can all vanish quickly.
Okay, so education isn't foolproof. Wealth isn't permanent. Anything else?
One more point. Money often brings problems. It cites Ecclesiastes 5.12. The plenty belonging to the rich one does not permit him to sleep. Worry, stress, the burdens that can come with wealth.
Right. So after looking at unseen forces in education and money, the source suggests people might think, okay, maybe it's not about external stuff, maybe it's about me.
Exactly. Like the person named Franklin mentioned in the source, many might conclude material things aren't the whole picture. So they turn inward toward trying to be a good person.
This feels like a very common approach. Just try to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm. The magazine calls it a course many follow. Trying to be respectful, polite, cultivate good manners, know your place, keep a clear conscience.
It mentions Lynn from Vietnam again, her belief that just being honest and sincere would naturally bring blessings.
And sometimes there's a religious motivation, right? The source mentions Hu Yun in Taiwan, taught that your deeds now determine your afterlife bliss or torment. A powerful motivator.
Definitely. The source even brings in Confucius here, his teaching from way back, around 500 BCE.
The golden rule, essentially.
Right. What you do not want done to yourself, do not do to others. A very old, widespread ethical idea.
So this path focuses on personal conduct, morality. What does the source say about the result of this approach to finding security?
Well, first it acknowledges, yes, doing good things usually does bring benefits in life. That's fair.
But There's always a but, isn't there?
Seems so in this analysis. The source points out that even really sincere efforts don't always lead to the outcome you'd hope for or expect.
It gives an example for this, too.
Yes, Xu Ping from Hong Kong. The magazine quotes her directly. I tried my best to care for my family and to do good, but my marriage failed, and my husband abandoned me and my son.
Oh, that's harsh. Despite her efforts.
Exactly. And the source also makes an observation about religion, which often encourages being good. It says religion hasn't always actually made people better.
How does it illustrate that?
It mentions Etsuko from Japan. According to the article, she was a director of youth activities in her religious organization, but was shocked by what she saw internally: loose morals, power struggles, even dishonest use of funds.
Disillusioning.
Very. And then there's Van from Vietnam again. We heard she believed in ancestor worship and doing good.
Right.
The source revisits her story, saying that despite years of doing good deeds and performing religious rituals, including offerings, tragedy struck anyway.
What happened?
Her husband got seriously ill, and her daughter died young while she was studying overseas. The source says she felt deeply disappointed, like her efforts hadn't brought the protection or security she expected.
So even trying your best to be good isn't presented as a guarantee. What's the source's reasoning here? Why isn't it enough?
It boils down to one key idea presented in the magazine. Not everyone chooses to do good.
Other people's actions.
Precisely. It quotes Ecclesiastes again, chapter 9, verse 18. Just one sinner can destroy much good.
So your efforts can be undermined by things totally outside your control, by what others do.
That's the point the source emphasizes. The negative actions of others can impact you no matter how hard you try to be good.
Okay, so let's recap where the source material has taken us. It's looked at relying on unseen forces.
Pursuing education and money.
And just trying to be a good person.
Right.
And according to this magazine's analysis, none of these paths on their own guarantee that secure future everyone wants.
Right. They all seem to fall short for various reasons, often involving unpredictability or the actions of others, based on the examples and reasoning presented.
Which leads us back to the core question the magazine posed right at the start.
Where can you find a reliable guide to a secure future?
And the source is pretty direct about its answer, isn't it? It states that this specific issue of the Watchtower is designed to help you find that answer.
Yes, it positions itself as the starting point for the solution. And based on how the magazine describes itself,
which is?
It says it honors Jehovah God, calling him the ruler of the universe. It says it brings comfort with the news of God's heavenly kingdom, that this kingdom will end wickedness and transform the earth into a paradise.
And it promotes faith in Jesus Christ.
Yes, as the king of that kingdom. And crucially, the source states its authority for all this is the Bible.
So the magazine is essentially saying the reliable guide, the true path to security, is based on understanding and aligning with Jehovah God, his kingdom, Jesus Christ, all as explained in the Bible.
That seems to be the core message. It sets up the following articles in that issue, like You Can Choose Your Future and The Way to a Secure Future, as explaining how to follow this specific path based on this foundation.
It presents this framework not just as an option, but as the singular guaranteed source for a secure future, setting it in direct contrast to those other paths it examined and found wanting.
Exactly. It's presenting a very specific answer to that universal search.
So if we step back and look at the whole journey through the source material, we've seen it explore these really common ways people try to find security. Relying on unseen forces, chasing education and money, just striving to be good.
And for each one, the source presents examples and reasoning, often using the Bible, to argue that they don't ultimately deliver true, lasting security. Usually because of things like unexpected events or simply because other people's choices can mess things up.
Right, and then it pivots to its central claim that there is a reliable guide. It identifies what it calls the only source that can guarantee you a secure future.
Which it firmly connects to Jehovah God, his kingdom ruled by Jesus Christ, and the Bible is the ultimate authority.
So here's something to think about, perhaps. If, as this source material strongly suggests, the common roads people take seeking security, wealth, education, even just being good, are ultimately insufficient. How does this idea, the one presented here, of a single, external, reliable guide, this specific divine framework, how does that fundamentally change the way you might think about planning for and actually achieving the future you hope for?